Adam Peters has to sign somebody from the Washington free agent class, right? It's time to player focus on Kam Curl. Let's go. Greetings and salutations, and welcome to Ref the District's Player Focus. I'm Nathan Perry. That's the Stoner here, and we're kind of going through some of the free agent class, and we're going to actually get now to the Washington Commanders players who have hit free agency. Maybe you've seen some of the other work we've done, or maybe you like what we're doing. So make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, or if you're listening to this on your favorite audio platform, leave us a rating and review, because it lets us know that you're supporting us and it lets other people find our content as well. Free agency is kind of upon us, Stoner. We've still got a little bit before legal tampering begins and taking other players. And so we've taken a look at those players already. You know, Brian Burns, L'Jarius Sneed in the news again for Kansas City. Let's take a look inside at what we have. How important is it to kind of sign our own players to long-term deals?
Well, if you kind of look at it, Nathan, from the outside and you look at the salary cap and you look at the starters on both sides of the ball, if you get 22 starters, you know how many there are right now that are signed and who have at least 3 years of experience? There's 5. That's what I counted. There's 5 guys that Washington has signed that have at least 3 years of experience. That's not much experience at all. And so they do have to look inwards. And regardless of what you think of how each of these players may have fared, it's a new ball game with different coaches, different GMs and all that. They can look at these players differently. They can evaluate them differently. And more importantly, they can use them differently than the previous regime did. And you never know what that result's going to be. So you got to take a look inwards at least some of these guys.
Yeah, results are important. And if you like to bet on those results, you want to make sure you head over to Bet Online. Use the code BELIEVE, BLEAV. Get yourself 50% welcome bonus on there. You can bet on stuff like the free agency thing. Maybe you're into March Madness. Maybe you're into NHL action. MLB going to be starting up as well. NBA going to come to a close here soon. So make sure you get all of your betting information and news right over at Bet Online. And again, use that code BELIEVE, BLEAV, to get yourself a little 50% welcome bonus. Let's get into our player focus of today, and that is going to be Kam Curl, who Stoner is telling us don't sleep on him.
Yeah, I love Kam Curl. Full transparency, I love Kam Curl, and I think I get to talk about him a little bit more because I discovered him. I knew about Kam Curl when all of you all were still in diapers. That's how long I've known about Kam. No, seriously, in 2020, this guy was a 7th round draft pick in 2020. Basically an afterthought, right? Nobody was really looking at him, but he's perfect safety size. He's 6'2", 200 pounds. And when he came out of Arkansas, he played a lot of cornerback there. So he has some experience, playing in the slot and all that. And in 2020, he was just kind of a nobody. And then Landon Collins gets hurt, and he gets thrown into that starting lineup and playing a lot of that Buffalo nickel style, that sort of term that we learned to hate.
I was about to say, I think that's $1 in the jar. Stoner.
It's another $1. I'm going to probably be putting a lot of dollars in the jar because I'm probably going to mention Dan Snyder and Jack Del Rio and Ron.
Get him out of the way now, huh?
Get it out of the way. But what he did when he came in there, especially his rookie year, was he came in and he was a difference maker. He made plays. He made game-changing plays. He had an interception return for a touchdown. And I just kind of noticed him pop all the time. And it wasn't, other than that interception return for a touchdown, he wasn't flashy. He's not the kind of guy that kind of stands out when some of the other guys before him, like the guys who played in the slot, Bobby McCain was kind of flashy, just in his style, not necessarily off the field or whatever. And just guys before him played like that. So he was a little bit different, but he was always around the ball. He was always making tackles. And in 2020, he was one of the top rookies in the NFL. I don't know that he made the list for Defensive Rookie of the Year when, oh, by the way, that's when Chase Young won. But there were some names on there. And by the way, if you take a look at that list right now, and most of these guys are now free agents, and you're looking at that going, man, that's a list with Winfield and Jeremy Chin and guys like Kyle Duggar was in that draft as well, 2020. But anyway, in his first few years, Nathan, he was pretty much fantastic. And it's hard to say that about a guy when he played on one of the worst defenses in the league for 2 of those 4 years. But that first year, Washington was a top 5 defense. And one of the biggest reasons was because of Kam Curl. And just looking at all of his stats over the course of the few years, he's just a guy who kept getting better and better and better. And let's not forget, at the end of 2022, after his 3rd season, he was ranked as a top 5 safety in the league, right? Remember him and Forrest were like a top 5 duo as well?
Sure.
And we had so much expectations for them coming in.
Yeah. And so that's a lot of, hey, we had an interception return in the first year. He had a great 21, 22. He improved and PFF loved him.
Yep.
We didn't hear much of him though this year. What happened with year 4?
Look, you're right. I can't defend his last season here in Washington, his 4th season, when he was supposed to be really at his best. And he regressed in most areas. And that's a problem, right? Because you're supposed to be getting better and better. But this whole defense was bad. Was it that they tuned out Del Rio? Was it that they tuned out Coach Rivera at a certain point and they just weren't doing the things that needed to be done? Because let's also not forget, they fired Del Rio after week 12 or something around there.
Sure.
And Rivera took over play calling. They weren't any better. They might have been worse once Rivera took over. So it was something with the style. But if you just kind of look at his numbers, especially after 2022, he had an PFF. We always say take it with a grain of salt, right? But in 2022, he had an 82.9 PFF ranking. It was top 10 in the league in safeties. He was awesome in 2022. The whole defense was very good at the end of 2022. That's what we expected for them to carry on into 2023. But last year's defense in 23 was one of the worst the league has ever seen. They weren't just kind of the worst. They were by far the worst. They were worse than Denver, who gave up 70 points in a game. That's how bad they were. So it's hard to sort of justify saying, I want Kam Curl on this team, and then look at what he did defensively last year and what the team did defensively and justify bringing him back. But I have to bring him back, Nathan, because he's a dude. He's a dog. He's a stud.
He's a very solid player. I have to agree with you there, Stoner. And I understand the love for Kam Curl and why people would want him back in Washington.
Yeah.
And it's not like he himself had a horrendous year. He had a career high in tackles, both combined and solo. And one of the things, though, I'm kind of looking at here, Stoner, though, is you mentioned that pick 6 in his rookie year.
Yeah.
And we just haven't seen a lot of explosive plays from him. And he was blitzed a lot his rookie year, but he only was sent down and I know this is partly scheme, but if a player is good at something, you think the coaches would kind of put them there. He's not being used in blitz packages. He's seen more of an in the box safety, and he doesn't make those big splashy plays that people want, and even defenses want. I'm not just talking fans. I'm talking coaches who want somebody to be, physical and explosive, as our coaches now have said that they want. I don't know that Kam Curl fits that. Can you convince us, can not us, because like I said, I like Kam Curl, but can you convince the people who don't think Kam Curl's explosive enough that he would work better in a Joe Whitt defense?
I don't know that I can convince that. I don't know that I'm here to try and convince either, because the fanboy in me, because I discovered him in 2020, but the fanboy in me wants Kam Curl on this team. But I don't know that he's necessarily right for this team, because what Dan Quinn and Joe Whitt Jr. are going to put together is something that Kam Curl has never been a part of. And it's not a specific scheme, right? They've made it very clear. Dan Quinn and Joe Whitt Jr. made it very clear. We don't have, a plug and play type defense. It's not a 3-4. It's not a 4-3. It's not zone. It's not man to man. We look at who we got and we design the defense that fits around those players. Whatever their skill set is, that's what they do. So you really have to take a look at Kam Curl, and is he that type of player?
Mhm.
Is he the type of player that Joe Whitt Jr. wants to go to war with? And that's what you have to ask yourself. You know he has the skills. You know he has the tackling ability, and you know he can make plays, although he hasn't necessarily made big plays the last couple of years. But he's the type of player I think would fit well with what they're looking for in terms of an attitude and what sort of the dog that he has in him. That's what they're looking for, and I think Kam Curl has it.
All right. Well, last question on this to try to get people in or out on Kam Curl.
Yep.
Okay. Again, kind of had a down year in the sense of overall effectiveness. His fourth year, he doesn't have a lot of explosive, plays to his name. He's solid, but maybe not great. What's his expected value? How much are they going to pay him, and is it going to be worth it? Because I remember at the start of the season, his dad was kind of pushing for 20 million, and that kind of kept through most of it. I don't know if Kam Curl's worth 20 million a year. I don't even know if his value is quite there. Can you talk us through what it would cost to keep Kam Curl here? Because I know it's going to cost you a jersey. You're going to buy a Kam Curl jersey if he resigns. So that's $100 some odd for you, but how much is it going to cost the Washington Commanders?
Yeah, therein lies the rub with Kam Curl right now, because what he thinks his value is, or what we think he thinks his value is, like you said, is what his dad's putting out there at $20 million. That's not what his value is. As a fanboy owner, for me, I don't care. I'm giving him $20 million a year.
Easy to spend somebody else's money.
That's exactly right. But I don't think that this regime is just going to come in here and just start throwing money around, big time money for guys like that. So the projected amount, the projected contract for him is about 4 years and 62 million, maybe. So you're looking at about 15 to 15.5 million dollars a year. And as you said, his dad in the offseason, before he had a lesser season, thought he was worth $20 million. He might find somebody who's going to give him $20 million. I don't think that Washington should be giving Kam Curl $20 million. As much as I love him and as much as I want him on this team, and as good as I think he can be in this defense, $20 million is probably not great. But if they can get him for what his value, what we perceive his value to be, which is about 15.5 per year, I think that's a pretty good deal for this year's salary cap, which they have about 87, 90.
But that goes quick, especially when you're signing starters to 15 million a year contracts.
It does. But yeah, so I want him here. If I'm just the fanboy, if I'm the previous owner, his name is Dan Snyder, another dollar in the jar, they're probably signing him for whatever he wants, because he is that type of guy. He's a fan favorite. He's a leader. He could be a captain. He's very good. But with this new regime, with the new ownership and the new front office, I don't think they're going to give him the kind of money that he's looking for. And we're that close. They can sign him today if they wanted to. They don't have to wait for the new league year, and we've heard nothing. So I'm not sure it's going to get done before.
I'm pretty sure the only thing we've heard so far is that Adam Peters said that they're in, contract negotiations. And in my experience, Stoner, that doesn't ever sound really good coming from a GM, because it usually means it's not going to happen. Because if they're actually in contract negotiations that are going well, you tend not to hear about it until things have kind of finalized. But that could just be smoke here. We are in lying season. So let us know right now. Did Stoner convince you that Kam Curl is a free agent Washington of their own that Washington has to sign? Does Adam Peters have to put pen to paper on Kam Curl? Let us know in the comment section here if you're watching this on YouTube. Kam Curl is our Don't Sleep player focus. Don'tSleepEnergy.com brings you all the good stuff, whether or not that's energy drinks, energy shots, or some of their fine merchandise. You can head over to Don'tSleepEnergy.com. Use the code DISTRICT. Let them know that we sent you there and support a DMV business. Don't Sleep Energy makes you great. That has been our player focus for today. I'm Nathan Perry. That's the Stoner here on the Believe Network, part of Ref the District, brought to you by Bet Online and Don't Sleep Energy. And until next time,
don't forget, I discovered Kam Curl.
Be a fan.